Hey, I'm Native MammothPress, and today the co-founders of Clever Kaiju are joining me at the Multicade to play Rampage World Tour.
Why green only got 4 buttons?
Because there's, for most 4-player games,
You don't need them.
there's really not much need for them, yeah.
So,
Alright, so you hit your coins,
do I have unlimited coins?
yes,
That's good to know.
and then just hit your starts whenever you're ready.
Press start again for longer life. Okay.
And then you can hit your buttons down below to... Well, you got, yeah, your player.
I don't know what just happened.
Player 1.
It was waiting for player 2.
Okay.
So you have to remind me what the buttons do again.
You have jump, punch, and kick.
Okay.
Jump. Hey. Oh, okay. Oh, I want that. So,
I take it I'm the green guy, right?
this is hard.
Or who am I controlling?
The wolf.
You look like your wolf.
Okay.
Okay, I'm the lizard. I'm Lizzie.
And then you can, of course, kick and jump and grab people off the ground and eat them too. Right? If you duck and punch. Oh, and you can beat the crap out of each other too. Hit each other in the nut. So we've been talking about doing this for quite a while, but COVID be crazy. And it's actually the first time in probably a year that we've seen each other. Maybe it was maybe in February.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while.
So
Yeah.
Weird.
It is weird.
So it's been, I mean, we've seen each other like online and Zoom meetings,
Every
Google
week.
meetings every week since. So we've seen each other's faces.
And the show, too.
Oh, that's right. So it was a long time coming that we would have, this being my COVID project, leave it to me to come up with a 4-player arcade cabinet during a pandemic when nobody could come and play it. But we like to live a little bit on the wild side with temperature guns and hand sanding, and I sanitized this before. So, but here we are, finally, as Clever Kaiju, playing a Kaiju appropriate game, I guess, of Rampage. There are way too many levels for a complete playthrough, but I appreciate you guys being here. I'm glad things are...
Thanks for having me back and having us.
Yeah, we've got the returning guest, artist Gary Bedell, back again. But this time we have Isaac. I'd say that isn't like I don't know. We have Isaac Crawford.
Are we all fighting over the same car?
And I'm the king on the screen. I'm the monkey.
The king, the Kong,
Got it. Nope.
and you're the wolf. You're Wolfie. I don't know what their name.
I'm Lizzie.
Ralph, right?
Yeah, Ralph's the lizard. Or Ralph's the wolf and Lizzie.
Oh, you're Lizzie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then James Rutherford, closest to you, is wolf. So just a little bit of a background. We did a lot of talking with you, Gary, last time you were here, but we didn't actually really go into... We went much into the industry and talked about the story that we had as far as how we met. But I guess if you were to elevator pitch artist Gary Bedell, is it artistgarybedell.com?
Yep.
So you can totally go there. You get an idea of everything he does. But
And the same if you want to go to my Instagram.
and the Instagram, artist Gary Bedell on Instagram. And then you don't pay attention to Facebook. You don't do the full page. Facebook thing?
I do. Sometimes Instagram's more my thing, but I think since we started Clever Kaiju and we're doing the show, Facebook is a pretty good focus for that. But when it comes to just my personal work, it's mostly Instagram.
Instagram. ArtistGaryBedell.com. Artist Gary Bedell on Instagram. And we got Isaac Crawford.
Yeah, IkeComics.com or on Instagram with that handle or Twitter. I think that's my handles. I honestly am not sure. But you can find me.
Ike Comics.
Yes, yeah. Ike, short for Isaac. Sometimes people misspell my name. And it's a little bit shorter that way.
Oh my god, you naked. Oh! And then you got it. And then, of course, there's James Rutherford.
My online presence is pretty trivial. I got Hitsuji99 at Instagram.
Yeah.
And one of these days I'll get more stuff up.
A lot of your workload, like you used to work with Gary at,
Yeah. Black
at
Lantern.
Black Lantern. That was a game development company where
Yeah.
you made video.
Yeah, we worked on Nintendo products and a couple of Xbox games, and
Is that where you guys met, or did you know each other before that?
we've known
Yeah, we were
outside of
Okay.
work, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been like almost 20 years.
It's been quite a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you apply together, or did you just happen to run into each other?
No, Gary and Andy were both working there before me, and then once I graduated, I did an internship there.
Oh, okay.
And so I did my my free internship for a year, and did a lot of stuff. Worked on like 5 or 6 games for free, which technically you're not supposed to be able to do, but as an intern. But
Well,
things
if
are a
you
little
don't complain,
sketchy.
they won't know.
Right.
Nobody will know.
But then got hired on straight out, and I was one of the last people out the door when the company shut down. Unfortunately, our last product was so bad. We did, what is it? The someone with who wants smarter than a 5-year-old?
5th grade.
Oh, right.
Yeah, are you smarter than a 5th grader? Yeah, it was so bad. That was our last game, and it was like that. What a horrible note to go out on.
And you guys had a lot of personal stuff that you kept wanting to pitch while you were there.
There were so many personal things we pushed and got knocked down and blown out that they just weren't interested in. Not so much that it wasn't a good idea, as it
It
was,
just cost too much money to.
yeah, they didn't want to, basically I was told they didn't want to have to pay to do it. And we pitched some stuff where I talked to all the programmers and they were willing to work after hours late on their own for free. And
There's always that dream of working for a video game development company, especially
Yeah.
like in our neck of the woods. You know, you think that you have to go to like big cities or go to the coast. You know?
well, that was what's nice about Black Lantern when it was gone, is that it was a nice environment to work. The people were great. I mean, how many other businesses do you get to work at where at 5 o'clock you go have a beer
right.
and go back to work, you know? But, you know, it's just, it came down to, at the end of the day, contracts and poor management just destroyed it. Which is sad because I thought it was really a great company.
Would you? And that's the last time you did video game work for.
I did some outsourcing work, did the Sepia toy line. I did some animations for the Magic Wand toys.
Oh yeah.
And then some, we did that food fighting game. I don't know if it was ever released or not. I can't remember the name of it, but like I had a ninja pancake and a few other things that I did characters for, animations for.
Well, some of the bigger names that you guys worked on. There was a Ben 10 game.
We worked on Ben 10 for the Xbox. We did the Duck Dynasty. Yeah, and the Wii.
Yeah.
And then we did the horrible Duck Dynasty games. We did a mobile game for Duck Dynasty. for Activision. Then we did the Nintendo 3DS version.
How do you turn a Duck Dynasty into a game? Is it like Pokemon Go, just with ducks?
No, it was
More killing.
it was a tower defense game.
More killing.
So the Activision one was
Voice actor?
a tower defense game, and then the Nintendo version was like an RPG version.
Oh my.
And it was fun to work on because it was like one of our more in-depth games that we got to work on. It wasn't Dora the Explorer.
Uh-oh.
Did
Oh,
you kill it?
who did that? Who did that?
I'm not supposed to push coin.
Oh, hitting coin and start at the same. Those are hotkeys to back out of the game.
Oh, I thought I hit him one at a time.
No.
You want to know how many times I do that?
I will say this though. Working for a smaller studio, I would take that over working for a big studio like Blizzard or anything. Any day. Like seriously.
That's cool.
I know that's kind of like everyone's thing, where they're like, oh, I want to work for a bigger studio, I want to work for Blizzard or whatever. It's like I would take a small studio, like knowing what I know now, I would take a small studio like Black Lantern over Blizzard any day. I know it's crazy working, situation, but
I think a lot of people don't realize that small operations can. There's actually another one like called Left Claw. They make their own little games here, and I think it's maybe one or two people, one person mostly, that he'll get a small team to work on a project.
I think there's another studio called Storybook in town.
Oh yeah.
That's where a couple of the artists that I know ended up working. Corey and Will ended up there. And I think they're just mobile games.
And I think that's something that's kind of profound about the fact that we live in a time now where anyone can make anything anywhere. That you don't have to belong to major brands or major titles, like companies anymore to make cool things. Like you can make it yourself if you wanted to take the time to learn how it's done. But also that there are very professional organizations like near you without you don't even know it. Like I've never heard of like Black Lantern, which I mean I figured you'd have to be in California or New York or something, to get anywhere near that kind of thing.
huge man. This thing could be anywhere now.
Yeah.
Well,
Have you considered doing another one, starting up one of your own with all you guys know?
I wouldn't know how to go about doing. It would probably be one of those things like we did with Old Timers Revenge, where we get a bunch of people together to start something, try to take it to completion, and then maybe try to publish it yourself.
Yeah. If the option's available, I mean, is it worth the effort? I mean, I guess in hindsight, in your time there and what you learned and the experience of working for a studio like is it something you would consider doing again?
Oh, I'd love to work. If Black Lantern were to start up again, I would love to say, yeah, let's do it again. But I think our thinking would have to be different.
So Clever Kaiju became its own little game development.
But see,
branch.
we got the sister studio up in St. Louis.
Yeah.
What was it called? Graphite Lab.
Graphite Lab.
Now,
I worked for a while.
they diverse. They didn't just do games. He did a whole bunch of stuff up there. And I think that's what you'd have to do. You couldn't just dedicate yourself to one thing.
Well, good, because I don't think we could if we wanted to.
Well, all right. But, it's just, anymore, it's like if you're not like Activision or, like Blizzard or wherever, where you're just a dedicated game studio,
Yeah.
you need to diverse so when you don't have a contractor, you're working on original products, you could have income
Right.
to keep your guys going, or at least your core people.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Being a designer and an illustrator and a cartoonist that happened to build an arcade unit that he goes public with live, 3 days a week. And we've talked a lot about a Pot Belly Mammoth game, which I know a lot of that's on me. But, I'm just saying, the path just seems more and more obvious to me. So good luck, gentlemen.
I mean, then there's the other thing is, like, I was just an artist, so I don't know how to program. And those are the other people you need to make those things successful. Now, with the programs like Unity and all that stuff,
Right.
it makes things a little bit easier for people to
Yeah.
play around with and develop. But at the end of the day, you're going to need that core group of people that know how to do things that you don't.
I think a lot of it is just embracing what you do understand, and then hopefully you have it in a format you can just kind of, here you go, and they can make sense of it. The good news is I know a couple of programmers for games. They seem to be pretty extensive, but I don't really know like what they're talking about. So, But Kaiju, the Clever Kaiju group has a much bigger, much broader kind of scope.
Way broader. Yeah, dude.
So we can encompass anything. We can do anything. But the main focus of Clever Kaiju, really, let's start with its origins. It was a series of meetups.
Yeah.
Meetups.
Hotel Vandervoort. We met there like every Sunday to eat food and draw pictures and just talk about art. Actually, before I we were kind of bitching about the industry. But it actually became more constructive after that. Started just talking about, different things we go through as artists, methods, techniques. And then even grew further once we went over to Big Mammoth's because it was a little bit more intimate, a little bit more quiet for all of us. And then the group kind of expanded again from there.
Yeah, it felt more welcoming for other artists to come in and visit and hang out with us for a little bit.
Yeah.
It felt more casual.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the pandemic hit, we kept this, but we kept it going with Zoom, and now we do a Google Meet every week. I love the way things are going. I know it seems like we don't have a plan, internet land, but we do have a plan. I promise.
Nobody has a plan. The fact that for a year, here's the thing: you got at least four people to meet on a regular basis, once a week, for over a year. That's better than most bands. That's an achievement of its own, dude.
Well, I think a lot of it is we everyone that we meet with, we kind of got this, we kind of vibe with each other.
Yeah.
And
either our skill sets, we got skill sets over here that match up over here, but this person has experience with, on a more professional, on the industry side. It's like you got the idea people and the experienced people, and it just kind of gels well together. So when Kaiju, it was kind of made a plan that we were actually going to do something with Kaiju, it kind of came down to the four of us. There's also Chet, but he's kind of like the wise wizard on the outside. But it was pretty much the four of us that were, on a regular basis meeting up and talking about the same thing. It seemed like what we were looking for in the direction we were wanting to go with ourselves seemed to gel in the same direction. So, and you know what they say, once you put a logo on something, it's official.
Oh, yeah.
So, all of us put in our 2 cents on the logo. We took the best of all of them and mashed them together.
The best of all worlds.
And it's a logo, so it's official. It's real now.
Yeah, it's a lot easier designing a logo with other artists than you think it is. Because it's more like, yeah, we like this, cool, let's put it in vector format.
Because most of us didn't know what to draw for ourselves. We was like, well, Isaac had this idea, so I'm going to draw that. Each of us were drawing each other's ideas. Because we don't have the brand for just us, and that's when shit falls apart.
Right.
So it's like, if Isaac was like, I like what you did here, fantastic. If I like what you did here, you're like, fantastic.
Yeah, it was like just kind of the best of what everyone was doing there and put together. But I do like how things came together. We did the zoo trip, and then we had the little show at Kunateka, what you call the best parts of con.
Yeah,
you go
the best parts of con, right?
And you have a panel and you sell some stuff in the
Yeah. You don't have to stand behind the table and beg for people's attention. Like,
buy my stuff.
You're here for me.
It's like, yeah, you can look at my wares and then meet me in the next room.
You don't have that wide-eyed look of
right.
desperation. I'll draw boobies for you.
Well, and now you can't do a con, so another great reason we, started doing this.
Exactly.
It turned out to be a really wise choice.
And I mean, and that's the thing, is it all kind of fell into place where Kaiju became, kind of its own entity online. Not just for us, but with VisionCon.
Yeah.
Doing the pen club.
Yeah, that's right.
Where by the time the world starts up again, and we can see each other at conventions, Kaiju will probably already have like a foundation to kind of roll with, and all of us can kind of make our re-entrance, you know, as individuals, but as a group, also as like a group with, like, well, here's all the past like 6 months that we've been doing. They've been following along. We're not just like, oh, hey, we're a thing.
Well, we're also doing the show at VisionCon Live.
Exactly.
Anyway, you know, it's the season finale there for the first.
So it's perfect.
Very quick.
And it was, you know, it was really cool, the team at VisionCon that have been working with us. And,
Yeah. Shout out to those guys,
Yeah.
man, for real.
And they've been paying a lot of attention to just us as a group, but I think us as individuals, and really just the art scene in general, like keeping VisionCon itself like alive throughout the year, keeping us relevant, I suppose. Instead of us working our asses off in the shadows for a year and then showing up for 2 days and begging.
Yeah. There's everything from like a year.
Right. You thought I died,
Yeah.
but surprise!
Well, I think it's cool, man, because like normally we wouldn't see each other that much if convention season was going on. I know it's kind of weird to say, but you know,
It's true.
making the best out of what we had for this year, I think we did a pretty good job with that, and kind of sewing the artist community together somewhat.
Yeah. Well, and like just staying and, you know, keeping active, always having something to work on, and then always being available for conversations, because a lot of people are working on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And one thing about cons is like, yeah, we have our tables to sell our stuff, but I don't know about you guys. I spent more time probably talking about everybody else's projects than my own. It's just easier. So it's, you know, people are like, oh, would you look at my sketchbook? Yeah, totally, you know. But you flip through it and then they move on, you know. And I mean, maybe they'll remember to come back and see you again the next year. But here it's, you know, it's more casual, it's more relaxed. You
Yeah.
know, where they know that they can find you in the same place every time, you know.
I'm really looking forward to bringing the art education into it to the public.
Yeah.
That's gonna be really cool. Yeah, the internet land. That's what we've been working on getting together for you. So we've been practicing on ourselves.
That's the big picture of Kaiju.
Yeah.
Is for us to take all of our knowledge and our skills and our experience and develop a like a curriculum, like a workshop kind of to teach what we know. Because there's a lot of things, like I've worked with a lot of people that have, you know, high-end degrees that don't know some of the basic stuff that, I mean, they're okay at what they do,
Yeah.
you know, but there's just a lot of things that, you know, like you suggest, like design people that don't know illustration,
Right.
or illustration people that don't know design. And I mean, it's a lifelong trek to learn both sides anyways, but there's just a lot of personal experiences that are really valuable that people just don't learn in a classroom. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that can be taught in the classroom, and and teach that stuff too, but...
Well, and then there's all those people that learn something in the classroom, but then after school, that's something they want to they want to do.
It's more of like a laser point focus, more intimate kind of like learning platform that we can use to like hone in on specific projects or different. Would you say professional lines of work, or is it more independent, like self-made kind of work?
Like,
Like with like design, or if you were to generalize like what we were teaching, is it more for like, hey, this is what the industry looks for, or is it more like this is what you need to know for your own personal?
it'd be both, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I think they're both very important.
So you have actually experience in teaching in a professional, like at college.
Yeah.
And what was your class? Was it animation?
Started out teaching animation, 2D animation, and then moved into teaching some 3D modeling and with Lightwave actually, and then we switched into 3D Studio Max. But I ended up teaching the art, the new media introduction to the digital practices for the last 4 years.
And this was with MSU?
Yeah. So
you had like a pretty wide...
yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed doing it, but we started out just teaching all the new digital stuff, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and then I found out they had some VR equipment at the library. So I was like, well, I started working in tilt brush into everything. Is someone actually the purple dude?
Yeah.
It's like, why does he feel like he's attacking me?
I don't know. I just saw.
It's like,
I just saw you suplex.
yeah, you ate the beast
But-
potion from Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
So yeah, so it was, but mostly just teaching, digital practices, learning how to, and getting, honing the students in on using those skills. So it's kind of like, instead of teaching them how to use their pencil, I was teaching them how to use the digital tools to do art. How to use layers and blending modes and a whole bunch of stuff in Photoshop and vector tools in Illustrator. How to put out their own little comic book or zine type thing in InDesign, and then going into Tilt Brush and allowing them to use. And Tilt Brush is great because the students can immerse themselves in their art in a virtual reality environment. So
of all of us, you'll probably have the most well versed in like setting up a curriculum and sticking to it and kind of keeping the platform of. Or no?
try.
I'm shaking my head.
I'll ask you a little bit.
Yeah. The thing is it's like I walk in, it's like I know what I'm teaching. I have this set of projects that I want to do with the students, and each project emphasizes a different aspect of using a program or honing in on the skills of foundations theory. So color, shape, value, line, texture, value, all that stuff. One of the things I loved doing with the students was going out and taking pictures of textures. I would do a whole lecture on what is texture versus pattern, and implied texture versus actual texture. And then so I send them out into the world. They would grab their cameras and try to find interesting textures that they can use in a different way. So, and the only aspect of rules that would change on them is the fact that they can't use grass or organic textures to represent an organic element. They have to find an inorganic texture to represent that. So, find something that looked like, you could use it for wood. One of the students did some really cool stuff using their Thanksgiving dinner of all things. So she took pictures of the pots and pans, that cast iron skillet texture with the grunge and burns and all that stuff on there, and used it as like a beach shoreline. Yeah, and it looked really great. So it was, getting them to think about using different aspects like that. Of incorporating something that you would not, it's like, okay, here's a line. Get them away. A lot of the students are coming in fans, so getting them away from thinking about fan art.
Yeah.
And I was always like, you can't use fan art in your work. I don't want to see 3 dozen Pokemon Go's or
Naruto's.
anime characters in your artwork, because number one, they're building a
Get up and walk out.
Right.
they're trying to build a portfolio for whatever discipline they're going into.
Yeah,
So if they're going to go into animation or illustration or design or marketing or whatever, they don't need to be walking over their portfolio with 3 different versions of Sailor Moon.
I mean, I'm curious about that. The 3 versions.
How does one How did you get into teaching? Was it right after your game design work?
It was about 2 years after I graduated, and the art department had a need for a teacher. I had industry experience, and she asked me if I'd be willing to participate and do it. So I was like, yeah.
Was there a degree requirement?
Usually there's the master's, but with some of the colleges you can get away with industry experience.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Bondo, are we all stuck here?
Yeah.
Someone does. So the head of the department would allow me to teach based on my industry experience.
Good.
But over at OTC, though, they require a master's degree. And she gave me a glowing review. the art director over at OTC is like, yeah, I've never received a review this great
Yeah.
for a teacher. Unfortunately, I couldn't teach there because they need a master's.
I don't think I had an interim teacher that.
Honestly, my wife is over there taking classes right now, and I am sorely disappointed in what the teachers are teaching because
Well, and it wasn't fair. Whenever I last went there, it was my employer who I did graphic design for. They were just like, just go and get your degree. Like, we'll pay for it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So after work, after I spent, 10 hours being paid to do the work, I was paying a school to go and learn the same stuff I was doing all day, which is fine. I didn't have an attitude about it or anything, but I did have to not talk about what I did for otherwise, maybe I shoot myself in the foot, with people, or maybe my teachers would be harder on me, or my classmates would be assholes, treat me differently, because I don't really care, but it's I don't want them to, I don't want to be the focus of, but it usually kind of figured it out, but, and I didn't want to be disrespectful to my teachers, but I knew that my teachers weren't they were, it was an awkward place to be, knowing that I didn't want to be well, I already know all this. It's like, and so I just I do this for a living all day, and then I come here and I pay you to teach me that, I didn't want to be that kind of guy. So thankfully it worked out okay, but as far as teaching goes, I always thought it would be cool to do that.
well, I had one thing.
Controls for really.
One thing I wanted to do
Hear that
about
now?
teaching is I had one.
What are the buttons?
You put these two at the same time, I think.
But I
I'll
had
take it now. Thanks a
an
lot.
instructor in one of my foundation courses,
Yeah.
and he was so bad. I mean, he would come into class, tell us what we had to do that day, and then go, I'm going to go get a coffee, and disappear for 45 minutes. And I'm like, and this guy had a master's degree, and he was there teaching, and I was like, if I ever taught,
He just checked out.
yeah,
that's all.
I was like, if I ever had the opportunity to teach, I would never treat my students that way. It was so bad.
Yeah.
And
And a lot
I
of
feel that
yeah.
the kids are paying for, well, they're not all kids, but I feel that whoever's taking the course, they should get their money's worth out.
Yeah.
And
Well, I noticed with the way you set up assignments and the way you talked before, there seems to be a real focus on how to think like an artist and so on, instead of just here's how you use Photoshop or whatever.
Right.
Which
Well-
I really appreciate that.
well, I mean, it's a foundations course, so we're setting, as the foundations, you're setting literally what their
Yeah, that's right.
their mindset's supposed to be as they go into their
Yeah.
degree
Thank
field.
you, sir.
I do. Thank you. And then I jump kicked him in the back of the head.
Nice. Well done. Well done.
So needless to say, we have a lot to work with as far as the different, all that we know and our personal experiences and the skill sets that we developed. Because, like I said, learning a handful of different things to be flexible for our own. Because if I'm not doing design, I can do illustration, I can do arcade stuff. And each of us have that flexibility. But when it comes down to what do we do with it, the whole teaching thing of it, I think a lot of people are going to be asking you a lot of questions. Maybe not Gary so much, he might already have. But
I ask all the questions, man.
but I think it's something that, even when I was in classes, it'd be awesome to do this. And I even had teachers that were like, you want to help out? And okay. And they never came back and told me what they needed, so it never happened with me. I always figured that the teaching of something would be, I know a lot of things, I just wish they were more useful,
Yeah.
But, it's just, that was one of those gaps that I think could,
Well-
I think teaching could bridge that gap for me.
I think one of the nice things that I was always going into class going, I hope I don't screw up. Like if someone throws something at me, I hope I can figure out the problem for them. But later on, I learned that it's like, okay, if I can't figure it out, that's fine. I may not know. I don't know every
Yeah.
aspect of everything. There's always 12 different ways to do something. But as a teacher, I left it to my responsibility. If I couldn't figure out something for the students, it's like, or I didn't know, I would take the time to research
Yeah.
and go back and help them out when I didn't.
I don't think there's anything to be like, wow, that's an interesting point. We're
Yeah.
going to have to look into that. That's, I mean,
Dude, I think and I say this till I'm blue in the face, but I think the universities aren't getting that this is such a talent-based business that it's crazy to me that like they wouldn't hire James, but he's working in gaming already. He's doing the stuff that people want to go to school to do, and it's just like, no, we're not gonna hire you. But I mean, I get, you gotta.
It comes down to that piece of paper.
Yeah.
I think it is.
But that's the thing, though. I look at places like Schoolism and these awesome, art programs and workshops, and a lot of those guys have not finished the school or never even went to college. And I mean, these guys are just excellent teachers, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the big myth is that, the best teachers come with that piece of paper. And I don't think that's true. Are there good teachers that do?
Well,
yes. But not all the best ones come from that.
I think it depends on the dedication of the individual. Like,
Right.
I've met a lot of artists, such as Gary here, that they may not have that piece of paper that says they went to school, but I've seen Gary work circles around people that went and got degrees.
Well, there's a certain discipline that you have
Yeah.
to establish yourself. Like, you
And
have to
I
know
think someone that, you may not have gone and did the classes and paid the money, but, there are those self-taught artists that have put in so much effort and so much
'cause they know if
time
if they didn't, there was nothing else.
to learn everything on their own. I respect that more than someone that just went and got the degree because you had to struggle a lot harder. You didn't have someone to sit there and guide you.
Right, you had that raw.
You had to
discipline.
find it out on your own, and that's something that a lot of the students have trouble with. Is like, okay, and it's in the syllabus too. Is that you need to take the time to go find. If I'm not available to help you,
Right.
take the time to try to find it out on your own. The internet's there. If you can't find out how to use a tool in Photoshop or a trick, I guarantee you there's somebody out
YouTube
there
is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even still,
that can show you how to do it.
Dude, I still look up stuff for Adobe.
Yeah, I do.
and
But that's the thing. There's a huge generation difference though, where you had expensive books or classes to teach you to get you that through that doorway, to open up these options and opportunities. That's not the case anymore.
Nope.
There's a lot of wrong information. There's a lot of bad information, but there's a lot of just information to to find on your own. Like we have these devices in our pockets, and we'd be like, oh yeah. And YouTube is the heavy like, oh shit, how do you do that? And then it's the master place.
Well, I think the
quick.
COVID situation is getting we had a Facebook group for teachers trying to figure out how to do things, and there was stuff that how do you teach art remotely? Okay, how do you teach certain aspects of art
Play
remotely?
Bob Ross reruns.
So everyone was coming up with some pretty creative ideas on how to do things, and I think with COVID and remote teaching, it's giving the students are now having to be forced. They don't have 20-year access to your teacher, so now they have to go out there and look this stuff up on their own. If they want to know how to try to do something, they're going to find different ways to research, and I think a lot of that's been lacking.
Well, I think too, like, I notice when I do talks at high schools, a lot of the students they're more interested in like stuff that I do, even though they need to be learning the fundamentals and stuff. And I think that's great, but I also think the public schools need to. I think they're now pushing more graphic design as of in high school and waiting for them to go to college, which is great.
I was running into a lot of fresh out of high school students that already knew how to use it, Illustrator and After Effects.
Yeah, InDesign was a huge thing from Willard. And that's when I went to OTC, and this is why, because Willard was a huge, I went to OTC when I went to Willard. But they catered their programs more towards jobs that were available locally.
Yeah.
So, number one, they taught you, Pen Tool 101. That's basically what the graphic design was. It's do not live trace anything. Do not copy anything. You get good with a mouse and a pen tool.
I hate
I'm like,
live
so,
And and it's like,
so
okay.
copy everything, use live trace.
I don't know how many students, I would do vector exercise, and I don't know how many students would discover live trace and go, here's my work, and I'm like, no, it's
No,
not.
we know.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, my teacher was like, if you live trace, I will know, and you will fail.
Yeah.
Okay. what is live trace? Don't even.
Right.
Like,
And actually, I wouldn't show them live trace until later on the semester.
right.
And usually their last project, because I'm like, yeah, I don't even want that crap.
Oh, hey, by the way, this whole time.
Yeah, you could have done this.
Oh.
Sometimes it works. You know,
But
sometimes it's nice, but you
The
know.
pen tool is so valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I've had people, I worked with people that had full-on degrees that they were like, I wish I had a class dedicated to just that. Because I did most of my design work. I don't even use, like with graphic design, most of the time I don't even use my stylus. I use my pen, I use a mouse with pen tool because it's just, I got used to it. And it's, I mean, all my illustration, I use like Illustrator pen tool with, or I well, not so much now, but that's really where the foundation of where I moved on.
Well, I'll do all of my drawing and sketching digitally.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my inking, I use just the pen tool,
Yeah.
and then back to the Wacom tablet for any color or whatever.
It's just surprising how many people have been like, I wish they had a class like that.
Yeah.
Like, where did you go? It seemed like OTC was the ones like, here's you'll do magazines. So here's InDesign. Here's how you make a T-shirt, and this is how you make print for a box.
I just wish Adobe
Okay,
would.
because that's 3 things that this town does, I guess. Like,
I wish Adobe would just take Photoshop and Illustrator and just call it one program.
No, they can't make more money out of it.
You can only have one.
and I wish they would just give up. Like,
I think well, when people are like, "Oh, I want to learn how to use Photoshop or Illustrator," my answer to them is always this: what do you want to do with it first? Figure out what you want to do with it, and then just kind of expand your knowledge from there.
well, I've had a question actually recently. It was, it is the industry standard. Do people they asked if they should take the time to learn Adobe. Like, should I just bite the bullet and learn Adobe? I was like, well, because you probably heard that it is the industry standard. And in many ways, like, it has been for a long time, but here's the thing. Ultimately, everything that I have ever done for any client personally, nobody has ever asked, is this Adobe? Nobody has ever asked, what did you make this with?
They just care about
They don't
format.
care. It's so long as it's saved in a way that they can use me and transfer over, it's fine. Like, so if you used a $20, program, or you use the Adobe, like,
Well, I looked at like Clip Studio. I purchased it because they had like a Uber sale where you could get like the pro version for like $50 or something. So I was like, you know what? I'll buy it. And I looked at the interface, and it's pretty much they've looked at Adobe and said, you know what? They got something good. I'm going to do it. I mean, icons, a lot of it's the same.
Studio's been killing it.
Yeah.
They're doing so well.
Now, my thing is like, well, I know Adobe, and
Right.
I don't
I
want
learned
to take the
Adobe.
time to learn Clip Studio, so
I learned Adobe because at the time there was no getting around. I was like, all my job applications, it was like, you need to know Adobe. I'm like, okay, so that's what I learned. And then I bought, I pirated a few versions up until about CS5. And just as I was about to pull the trigger on a full suite, they went to the subscription. So, but that's how I cut my teeth on Adobe, because I knew that eventually that's what I was going to be. And I pay $50 a month for it. But I don't just use the design and art stuff. I use like Character Animator, and I use like After Effects, and for all the recordings and stuff. Like, it's like, anytime I have an idea of like, it'd be cool to make like a 3D model of this, and an interactive 3D model of this, Adobe has something. So, I did it just because I drank the Kool-Aid. I could probably benefit.
And it's
from-
delicious.
As a plan B, I should probably learn some other software, and I'm pretty sure I could be familiar enough with it to learn it, but I know Clip Studio is a big deal. Like, and nobody's ever asked if it has to be Adobe Illustrator. Like, why do you care?
well, a lot of my students would show up in class going, I know how to use this program. Do I have to use Adobe? And I'm like, well, I think if you're going to do something in the industry, we need to teach you the basics of it. But when it came down, once we learned the interface and they wanted to just work on their assignments, they had a different software on their computer. I'd let them use it. They had their laptop. Bring it in. If you want to use a different software, I don't have a problem. As long as you get the fundamental core of what I was trying to teach.
And then it's in a format that you can actually
Right.
look at. And
But I did warn them. If you have questions that pertain to using the software, you're screwed because I don't know it.
So in this digital world of all these Adobe, like all of us flexing our nuts and bragging about all these programs, we have a traditional artist among us
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
who
You're
been
a-
quietly sitting in the group this whole time.
I don't have much to say about that.
Well, clearly it
In
doesn't really
college, I
matter.
did use some of that, but it's like a distant memory now.
I vaguely remember that.
My days as a young lord, I remember Adobe.
There's Isaac with his real pencils and inks, where he can't just stroke his mistakes.
Yeah,
You don't make mistakes, though. Man.
I do.
Being a traditional illustrator, especially with like the heavy inks.
I'm currently coloring, and then I'll letter this comic I'm working on, and it tempts me to just go like completely traditional because I don't enjoy it. I've been working on one comic all year. I thought I was going to work on 2 this year, but I ended up busier with other things than I thought. And got 160 something page comic, and I'm coloring it right now. I'm over halfway through coloring it.
You color of all the traditional stuff you do, you color digitally,
Yeah.
and you do that with what? Do you use Adobe or is it
Manga Studio, Clip Studio.
Clip Studio?
Yeah.
Tell you what, man, it's a heavy hitter.
Yeah, I just do pretty simple colors, one layer, and that program's good. So, and in the past I've used it for some watercolor brushes in the colors, but now I just go with more of the black.
Yeah. No, when I first started following your work and really got to know you, like a lot of the stuff was just heavy, like black and whites. You know, you have like really dynamic blacks, like really vibrant whites. So it was, I don't know, it's just that contrast was beautiful. And then you got, I like your choice of colors. Like you don't just go, I don't know, your color palette is a little brighter. Like when you started adding more color to your work, like they were brighter than I expected. You know.
Oh right.
And I don't know if it was that on purpose. Were you afraid of it being gloomy because of how much black there was, or was it? Did you want your work to still be cute, like with like Cat and Fiddle?
Right. Yeah. No. I don't know. Yeah. It just kind of happened, and then I would look at it and go, "Yeah, I kind of like that. I guess that's what it is." But even the comic itself is not very dark. It's whimsical, and the colors seem to match that well. So I guess that's the mood I was looking for. But some of it is like I want it to look. I don't like comics that look like the colors are really gray and dull.
Right.
I don't see the point of coloring that way. So also with the print, because the printing I use sometimes is not like the paper, and then the way the ink's gonna look won't look as vivid as it might look if I used a different sort of printing. I want to make sure that it looks good in print. So and yeah, even like I use uncoated paper, so
Yeah.
I want a good amount of ink on the page in the colors and stuff to get the kind of gloss I want, or slight coating feel to it.
With all of us talking about our, digital nonsense. and
Stupid digital.
Like and what we kind of bring and our experiences that we bring to the table as far as Kaiju. You've been heavily involved in like the branding and the decision making. But what is it that you're most looking forward to as far as like teaching, like sitting down, a class full of students? Like what are you looking forward to most about teaching? Is it the techniques? Because you have a lot more than just the techniques. Your research alone and the subjects that you do art on could be a class at a time.
Well, you do one on storytelling too.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm most excited about, but not just storytelling, but almost like how a director might talk about directing is like, what are your lines doing for the story? What is your color choices doing for the story? And so on. And then just like the panel design and just how you kind of frame things and what panels you show, what you don't show. That stuff interests me the most.
Yeah, and that's stuff that translates to a lot of other mediums. It's like every decision you make kind of like directs the eyes or like what is most important about the message you're trying to deliver. I think even in design, that's a very valuable. And then just seeing in the meetings that we've had where you walked us through like the history that you research that you do, just to kind of bring other cultures into your comic and your stories.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
That was one of the most mind-blowing.
There's a lot.
I had a friend with me. He was watching. I was driving whenever you were going through your presentation, and he was just glued to it. He was just fascinated by like how much influences and different historical references you brought in and how you translated them into your story. And it's like that could be a class of its own.
Yeah.
Like just
even with that, it's it seems meticulous the way I research, but I'm actually just like trying to search and just steal and just like I find things that are
feel like an artist.
I just find something wrong with that. I grab that and it doesn't have to
Bowie
be right. I just grab bag things and piece something together. But it ends up being a lot of research, but it's not just like I need to know exactly what London looked like in 1890 something
but
like that.
You shared your canvas before where you have like just stacks of images from all different cultures and then your work area was like this little white spot and it's this little deal. But these are the sort of things you get to know when you have like a weekly meeting. Whether we can incorporate it into a more public live stream setup, I think that's something we've been working on lately. Because there's just so much to learn from watching people's process. And like, so here's something that's been, kicking my brain this week, or this is what I've been working. And then just having that, watching it from the outside, the camaraderie and it might inspire a lot of people to look for people like that, whether it's art or music or anything, really. Like the value of finding other people like them that they can just talk with on a regular basis. It's been, like what do we get from Clever Kaiju the most? Like what, as individuals.
Yeah.
Which I think we've asked a long time ago. What do you guys get most from Clever Kaiju?
You're not going to go first this time.
Oh. Because it was you that asked us the last time, like months ago. All right, we have to start at the other end then. Dan.
Let's start with me.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, it's mostly, I get to learn something different, watching what everyone else is like, watching Isaac go through his work process. And I like to watch people sketch or look at your drawing before the finished product is great, but watching and seeing the thought process, look for your searching lines, what it is your brain was thinking when you were sketching.
I get it.
You get to see all that. But for me, a lot of me, especially with the way my life's been going lately, it's about keeping me motivated. Gary is he keeps me going.
Well, it's easy to stay focused at least keep it in your brain when you have somebody so genuinely excited for
me, it's like due date. When we do these little weekly things with the pen click, it's like, I need the due date. I need that push.
I understand.
Otherwise, if I'm left to my own devices, I'd rather sit and watch The Mandalorian.
I do that when I work on my piece.
But, it's like you get distracted.
Sure.
It's like, I'm going to go do 3D printing tonight, and I'll get to that later. Or, well, crap, I got to cook dinner and take a shower, and then, you don't work on what you need to do. So that motivation helps me.
I just got used to doing deadlines just from being, in an administrative office where it's like, this is what I need it yesterday. Like, okay, I just got good at doing what I was told quickly. To where it's like, it's hard for me to just do anything just because anymore. It's like, if I don't have a specific due date, I don't know if I'm going to get to it.
Yeah, and that's how I am. It's like, if I don't have that due date, I'll rework it to death.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like that line.
Or not do till next week. Just take it now, so I can move on with my life. And honestly, that's a bad thing. You get clients that are just like, they don't expect you to have it done within the month, and you get it to them a weekend. They're like, well, hell, if you charge me this much and you got it done this quick, like that's not how it works.
No.
Man.
No. I'm not Edward Ulrich, and this is not alchemy.
Right. Yeah. This is. I mean, you know, if you want, I could delay showing you another week if you want me to, but it's going to cost you the same.
Like during our show, you know, I talked about the dandelion.
Yeah.
Where I spent 10 hours painting a freaking dandelion that I ended up shrinking down to 10 pixels in the damn picture.
We had to make a print of that dandelion all of its own.
So, but you know, you get in those little zone things, and it's like, yeah, this is what I'm going to focus on tonight.
The detailed traps.
Yeah.
So you like the just the regular routine.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's, you know, meeting the same people and catching up on.
It's like, I need to have something done to show the group. I need to have, you know, that motivation to do it.
And that's something that the pen click has been really useful for. At least there's something, one thing a month that you have to like kind of keep that discipline spark going for. Like, you know, this is what's expected. This is what I need to do. This is when it's due, and then you do. That's good. That's a good point. I think what do you say, man?
It's like we definitely are wanting to do things for the community and other people too, but it becomes like something I enjoy so much myself. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, we want to do things for other people, but just the camaraderie and sharing with each other is so awesome.
Well, I think hopefully that could be inspired.
It,
you know, in others to do the same thing.
It will. It doesn't happen. Like it's not gonna happen unless you make it happen, kind of thing. Like because we, especially Gary, made it happen and structured it, and then there's a lot of community inspiration and teaching each other. And that's definitely my favorite part.
Definitely, like you said, the camaraderie and you know, getting closer, becoming closer friends, and figuring out ways of and having methods that we can like expand and like have, you know, not necessarily a school, but you know, workshops and classes and stuff, and the fact that you know we can share knowledge with each other. I picked up a lot of things from you guys. And there's a lot more that I know I can learn from you guys, and I know too that I'm going to be taking some of your classes.
Quick, giving the wizard more tools.
We're just going to be throwing money at each other, I think. We'll have like a universal tuition jar that we'll just replenish and pull from.
I'm going to borrow some money out of the tuition though. But yeah, I think just that, and you know, figure out a way to, because I want to do this for the rest of my life. I already know that. I'm not gonna retire. I'm gonna be drawing until I'm fucking dead. It's what I'm doing. The end. I think like doing something like this, especially with you know people you like and that you get along with and stuff, and it's awesome. You know, it's like I would teach and keep doing, you know, animation and these jobs and stuff, you know, for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Love that.
like, and I think that's ideal, and I can piggyback off of what you said for myself, honestly, because when I knew that in all the work that I did, like in the factories and doing all that, like I can do that stuff, like I picked it, you know, and I did okay, I guess, but I didn't belong, I didn't fit in, like
It wasn't your culture.
It wasn't my. You're right, and no disrespect to those who do. I mean, it's hard work, and you know, but it didn't fit for me, and I was miserable. I didn't belong. And so when it came down to it, like, what else do I do? What else do I know? It's the stuff I'm doing now, and if it wasn't for, you know, it wasn't a decision to do it full time that I would have made on my own. Weird circumstances had to take place, and they did. So it's because of my wife, like, hey, here's that opportunity. You better make the best of it now.
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. As far as I'm concerned, I'm retired. This is like, this is what I was like. One day when I had the freedom to do it, this is what I was going to do. This was what I was going to do. I mean, I didn't have this brilliant idea, you know, 10 years ago, but I do now. So you know, the Kaiju meetup, really the meetings in general for me were Slayer. It is, and it's weird because it's like sometimes it is us just meeting up and bitching about the industry, and you know, maybe Isaac's over there like, can we talk about drawing again? But it's like it was a huge transition for me. I'd never been fired from a job before. I'd never been laid off. You know, I've never been in that position. So I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to do it. I knew how to. I can make anything. I just don't know how to sell it. You know, I don't. You know. So having others that were like me, maybe not exactly in every way, but others that were in my position at some point, or at least had the same mental like state that I was. You know, to know that I wasn't alone was a big deal. You know, to me.
Yeah.
To know that.
That's
So
a
when
big one.
Chet brought me, you know, to the little breakfast meetings just to have conversations with people, you know,
Yeah.
just to get out of my own head and start thinking on a bigger picture and start making a plan. And that plan seemed to jive with others in the group for like what they wanted to do, what you guys wanted to do, and then suddenly like it was just like, all right, I'm along for the ride, and then suddenly I'm more invested than I thought, and then it's like this is great. So it's I don't know, it was it started off as a woe is me kind of pitch post, I think, for me. like I don't know what to do with myself, and you guys are like, you're not alone. Like, in fact, that's normal. And that was a big deal to understand that, you know, that's normal. And then, you know, fuck them is really what I got from, you know, you guys. Like, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, dude.
So we are.
I think the big thing that I've been learning, especially for the past like 3 years, is not relying on somebody else for my like happiness and my, like I was talking to James a couple nights ago. I think it was probably a week or so ago. I was like, I don't want to wait for someone else to open a studio. You know, because you don't know how long you'll be waiting around or whatnot. It's like you gotta kind of cut your own path, and it's hard. It's scary as hell. You know, I'm still trying to figure out ways for. You know, I'm not gonna get into business stuff, but you know, for us wise, you know, because I want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want to, you know, play pretend like we are, but you know, I want to be legit, you know.
Yeah.
So whatever I can do to get there, I'm, you know, gonna do it.
Well, and that's.
I know you guys want to do the same thing. I know you guys want to do this for the rest of your lives.
Well, I'm confident enough that I'm talented to do pretty much anything or figure it out. I don't feel like I'm smart enough to do it like that. I'm not smart enough to do it with business. And I do, and I make, you know, and I think I do it well. But I mean, it's not like I don't know how to, like, I can make it. I just don't know how to sell. I don't know how to make people care. Like, you know. But that's you know, that's all part of it. Like, I've already learned a lot from you guys just in general, you know, in the last 2 years with, you know, with. I mean, it was before it was even Kaiju. You know, it's like certain the mental health behind being a creative person and having a skill set that you can use to help others. Or, you know, I was able to bridge a lot of that gap. Like, it's not just like, hey, look at me, I'm an artist. Look at me. It's like you have a skill set that actually helps people. Like, you have just like any other trade skill that, you know, can be used to help others solve problems. Or, you know, like with design, you know, they're like, hey, I have these ideas for a business, or I need to rebrand everything, and I don't know what to do. I need somebody to handle that. Like, oh wait, I know a guy. Like, in the past 2 years, you guys have helped me understand that, like, I'm that guy. I'm a guy. Like, I'm in people's pockets now, you know, and it's not about being an artist, you know. It's not about being a douche. It's about having a skill set that people can use and I like to be useful. So that's, you know.
You don't want to tape a banana to the wall and call it art.
Well, I mean, I would if I had, you know, a rich uncle that
artsy.
needed to launder some money, but I don't. But I know it.
Some artsy-fartsy-ness there.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to come hang out.
Well, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Come on, man.